Christmas at Oak Nook by Ben Sunderland. Winter had come to the forest. There was sparkling glitter ice, tickling the top of the fence around the entrance to Mouse Hall. And Mrs. Badger's extra layer of twigs and moss had been up for weeks now, keeping her cosy set snug from the wind's cold fingers. There was hustle and bustle as Owl looked lazily down the length of Wood Lane from the comfort of his rocking chair, high above in the old oak tree. Owl was in his favourite spot, the rocker scrunching back and forth through overnight snow that had settled on his front porch. Owl's house was called the Nook, named after a hollow that nestled where two of the old, gnarled and twisted branches met. From his vantage point, it seemed as though all the animals of the woods were scurrying and hurrying in a determined hubbub of last-minute chaos. For this afternoon wasn't any old afternoon. This was Christmas Eve, and time was running out. Owl watched Pheasant patiently explain to Mrs. Hare that they had run out of feathers days previously, and chuckled quietly as he eavesdropped on Mole defending the lofty price of his new velvet waistcoat range against some devious haggling from the rat. All was abuzz, with everyone in the forest focused on the last of their furtive gift buying. All apart from Owl, that is, for Owl had a secret. He yawned happily, unfolding one talon from its cosy spot beneath his feathers, stretched it this way and that, then made his way inside the nook. He popped the kettle on the stove and pulled a cup down from its peg, ready for a warming brew. The afternoon light was fading as the kettle sang its happy song, and Owl heard the lane below finally lose its bustling soundtrack, replaced by the gentle calm of dusk. All across the forest, families gathered in their drays and nests. Excited little ones tucked up tight for an early night, with stockings pinned to the ends of their beds, soon to be filled with berries and treats magicked into them by morning. In the burrows and dens, mums and dads sat quietly about the last of the wrapping up, the first cup of something mulled in hand, enjoying that special slowness that settles the forest on Christmas Eve. But not at the Nook. For rather than currying in, Owl was pulling on his winter woolies. His Christmas Eve was just beginning. Pulling the door gently closed behind him, Owl watched the first fluttering flakes of snow catch in the pale moonlight, then dance off down through the evening mist that was held in the thicket and branches below. Then, with a silent swoop of his long arms, Owl stretched his feathers and took off, high up into the night sky. He had many stories written about him, did Owl. Some came close to the truth, while others were just wild imaginings. Still others even had him dressed in red velvet, trimmed with white fur. But gazing down at the forest below, Owl's mind was far from these. Instead, he thought of all the little boys and girls sleeping safely in their beds. He thought about the long year they'd had, and all the many things they'd done during it. He thought of all the happiness they'd brought, and all the caring words they'd said. The wind sighed quietly through his feathers as he flew down between the treetops, remembering the kind thoughts that all the forest children had thought that year, but not even said out loud. He even thought about the times when they'd done something nice, but never breathed a word of it to another soul. Owl thought all these things, and thought them well. For hidden behind the folds of his innermost feathers, he cradled a sack made of the finest black silk and sealed tight shut with a pearly white cord. Owl swooped swiftly down to the forest floor without so much as a sound, and swung the heavy sack down onto the ground. He looked this way and that. He looked up and looked down, as if making sure no one else was around. And pushing a feathery hand deep into the sack, he pulled out a parcel, beautifully wrapped and tied with a bow. Across the top there was written a name in neat, flowing silver ink. Parcel in hand, Owl shuffled up the path of a nearby house. He peered for a moment at the nameplate hanging above the door, and, satisfied, silently slipped inside as quickly as possible. For dawn was now only a few hours away, and all across the forest there slept many more well-behaved reasons for Owl to dart his feathery hand into the black silk sack with the pearly white cord.